Well, it's November. The SEMA crunch is real. Well, for most anyhow. For us, we're just about finished up. We have a few things left to button up before we'll be actually officially ready as far as the paint side of things. We got a camper shell, which I'm just now leaving Home Depot with the camper shell boot, or I'm sorry, the camper shell seal that goes underneath the shell to keep the paint from getting damaged when it's on the body of the Bronco. But perfect time to talk about SEMA. You know, what is SEMA? SEMA is a trade show that happens once a year in Las Vegas that we have been fortunate enough the last decade to bring vehicles to. Anywhere between 2 to 5 vehicles a year we have had somewhere set up at the SEMA show over the last decade. This year we're bringing a really cool Bronco and a C10, because I mean, you have to have C10s at SEMA, right? That's where they're supposed to be debuted at and where they're supposed to be shown at, etc. Anyway, sorry, rant over. But anyhow, so we have 2 vehicles going to SEMA this year. One is Manny's C10, really super cool C10, really over the top, built by Trey 5. Steve at Elevated Design did the interior in it. Just a really cool truck that we had an opportunity to do for him. This is our second vehicle that we've done for Manny, and could not be happier with how this one has turned out. The second one is a Bronco. This is our third Bronco we've done for Paradise Customs and Trey 5 Customs combined. The first 2 that we did sold for big money like 2 years ago at Barrett-Jackson. Their new client that purchased this one actually from Barrett-Jackson, not painted, picked the color scheme with his wife, and we were continued on the consignment to finish that job for him, which came out killer. Both vehicles going to SEMA. Both vehicles are just about finished up from our side. Very excited to show you guys SEMA, what goes on there, the shenanigans, the good times, the rewarding stuff from killing ourselves for months and months and months to get the cars to SEMA. But SEMA's not really our only show going on here, so to speak. I mean, while we're doing that stuff, we're still knee deep in tons of other projects, like finishing this Buick here that I talked about, you know, before. So Taylor over here is trying to get the hood finished up for this 52 Buick that we've been working on. He started color sanding with 600 grit. He's all the way at 3000, and he's begun the compound first step buffing it. Over here I've got Dylan assembling the C10 for Roman out of Las Vegas, that we're trying to get this thing together so we can get it blocked out, finalized, final primed, and then we'll continue blocking it and get it painted. We've already jammed it months ago. We got the engine bay all smooth out and painted satin. We got the inside painted. And we got the bed lined, the bed inside body worked, and the exterior body worked and primered. We're basically trying to get this one all put together and gapped so we can start getting it ready to paint the outside. Got Artie over here doing some small stuff that needs to be handled for the Bronco. This is actually pretty good for you guys to see. Sometimes there's hours of labor and frustration just in setting up parts to paint them. As you can see, he's using paint sticks, making stuff work, figuring out how he can get all these parts hung up, how he can get them set up in the booth so they can actually be painted. And sometimes people may not realize how much work goes into just the preparation of getting something painted. Well, this is our custom-made side trim that the guys next door at Trey 5 made for the Bronco. We got it all prepped, ready to be painted. This stuff's going satin black. Got our mirrors set up on stand, ready to go. We got our bumpers ready to get painted. So after all this stuff is painted and we're pretty much finished up with all this, the last thing we have is the top. The top's kind of tricky because it is going satin, so we can't paint it top and bottom and then send it to Steve, because he won't be able to flip it over. He won't be able to put anything on it because we can't buff the satin paint. So what we decided to do was get the bottom or the inside painted, and then we'll send the top to Steve so he can do his upholstery work or anything else that he needs to do to it. And then when we get it back from Steve, we'll body work and paint the outside of it. This way we can set it on the body for the last time without anybody's fingerprints all over, because like I said, you can't sand and buff satin. When you spray it, it is what it is, and that's just how it's gonna be. So one of those steps that I think where if you plan ahead or think about the next person, which is very important to me, it's kind of like what I do. I try to picture a project at the end and then work my way back. As the guys are steady focused on making sure each task gets done, things get set up on stands and prepped, I'm trying to figure out the next move to make sure that everything we do lines up accordingly so the next guy who gets handed the baton is ready and it can be as smooth as possible.
Of course, nothing's ever easy. Got this Bronco shell in the booth, getting ready to get it cleaned up and masked up to paint, and we found a couple of dings on each side on the back of it. So we got them fixed up real quick, got them spot primed. As soon as those are ready to prep and paint, we will start getting this thing finalized and masked up.
One of the things I can't stress on enough is the teamwork between Jeremy, Trey 5, his team, my team, Steve Yu at Elevated Design. All of us together combined, we really have a system that works really well for us. That's been able to, that's the reason we've been able to get the vehicles done so efficiently over the years. We're going to take a walk over to Trey 5 and see how the Bronco's going, because I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like. Hey guys. Hey guys.
Hi there, guy. Where does the pink wire go?
This is Pio. You've seen him many a times on Trey 5's channel.
Hi guys. Welcome to iCandy's channel. Here we are.
Just wanted to kind of show you guys what these guys are up to. Dang, that looks good, dude.
So right now Taylor is getting this thing final polished and ready to go so we can get it over to Jeremy over at Trey 5. We usually do this step at the end after assembly, after all the trim is put on, taillights are on, usually when it's on the vehicle, but because this one's going to SEMA, we're trying to get a jump start on that while Steve has the cab over at Elevated Design.
So right now I'm getting Manny's bed cleaned up, getting it ready to go over to those other guys so they can install the wood. So what I'm using here is a waterless wash product, and technically you're still using water to wash the stuff down, but versus using a hose or a pressure washer, you're not getting water in all the cracks and crevices and all the places that you don't want moisture.
So right here we got Manny's bed for his C10 that's going to SEMA. It's all sanded and buffed, put together. We're pretty much just waiting on the wood. Once the wood gets sanded, fit right from Trey 5, they'll bring it over, we'll get it coated, and then this one will basically be just about ready for the bed to go on. What I think is neat about what we did here is not only did we do the lettering and the two-tone, but we also had Ron come in, hand stripe around the letters, hand stripe on the two-tone, so even though there's only small little pieces of it that you see in between the trim, at least it's completely sealed up and buttoned up. One of the other things I'd like to mention too is the trim on the truck. So a lot of times when we're trying to get vehicles ready for SEMA, dry time usually isn't as long as you hope for. So putting things on when paint is soft can be crucial in damaging something and having to repaint it. And when you don't have any time, you got to think of ways to be smarter, right? So one of the things that we have started doing around here is felting the back of all of our trim so that we have some wiggle room with it to adjust it into place without scratching or digging into the paint, which long-term wise should help it last longer and not dig into the paint as well. So usually on the vehicles when we restore them, we do bed liner on the bottom side, usually inside the cab, inside the bed. A lot of times we'll do color match bed liner. It's not really perfect color match, but it kind of softens the black a little bit. If you look inside here on Manny's C10 bed, you'll see that we did color match bed liner underneath the cab, inside the bed, and underneath the bed in places where we didn't paint it. It's just one of those things that we like to do here to seal it all up, which is another thing that takes more time, costs more money, and makes these vehicles the caliber that they are. Inside the truck, as you can see, it's got custom-made bead roll panels from Trey 5. All bodywork smooth. Wheel tubs have been extended. Even down to the details of the inside of the bed is smoothed out. So when the wood bed floor raises up and you look down inside here, you're going to see full paint inside instead of bed liner. We kept the bed liner to a very minimal. You're not going to see necessarily any of the stuff in here that's painted when the wood floor is installed. But when that floor opens, the small little bit that you're going to see inside here, or up inside here, or up inside there, could make all the difference in the world in him winning a show, or us getting the next customer because our detail is on point. Bead rolls are probably a body man's worst nightmare. They look great in metal. They have a great idea keeping things nice and strong, but to get the line straight, to get everything look consistent is really pretty difficult. Sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out. It kind of depends on which style the person who's fabricating it goes with. But as you can see, these are kind of out, so getting these all to look right, uniform, is hours and hours and hours of extensive work, priming, blocking, etc., just to get it to the point where we can actually make it shiny. So we're all finished with the bed. It's sanded, it's buffed. We're basically just waiting on the wood. Once the wood gets here, we'll get it coated. We'll get it sanded back down and clear coated. So our basic plan with the wood is to make the wood as shiny as the truck. So once the wood is done, this bed can go back to tray 5. They can get it back on the chassis, and we'll actually have a completed truck. So we got Manny's wood coated. The first step was putting this new product on that we're trying out. This is a polyester coating that is supposed to seal up the wood, keep it from expanding and getting wet underneath, etc., so that once we get it flattened out and cleared, it'll actually hold its gloss. As you can see, it's pretty shiny now. We're gonna take this here, sand it down with some 600, some 800 grit, clean it up real good, and then lay down some automotive clear coat over the top to glass it out to give it that show car finish on the outside of the vehicle on all the wood. So stay tuned as we finish this up and get this knocked out for Manny's truck. Man, we got this wood out of the booth, freshly sprayed. Man, it looks killer, all glassed out. We've never done anything like this before, so it's really cool to be able to do this for the first time. We are going to be doing this again on another vehicle that we will show you guys in the future on the channel of how we did that, the process of it. But for now, man, check out that shine. The next time you see this wood, it'll be on the truck at SEMA, looking killer underneath the lights. That's all, folks.
All right, Brian, we're going for the epic shots.
Basically, I mean, you're still using water to wash it technically, but all right, start over. Gosh dang it.
Man, we got this wood back. I f***ed that up.